Hello, welcome to the Freak Show. Bumpy McSquigums here. I want to thank you all for joining me as I continue with my Let's Play of Shadowrun Hong Kong. This is episode 9, ladies and gentlemen. We talked to everybody, and it's time that we go and we, I guess, get our next mission. And stop dilly-dallying around, I suppose. Something along those lines. It's fine. I don't think we checked the hatch. Okay, so maybe we can do a little bit more dallying, a little bit more dillying. It's fine. Well, apparently we can open a door here, but let's talk to Ractor, I guess his name is. It's oppressively hot down here, and the air is full of synthetic odors that grab you by the sinuses and refuse to let go. You can smell engine grease, melting plastic, ionized air, and lead solder. A quick scan of the room tells you why. The downstairs tenant has converted the space into a machine shop. Metal fabrication tools and a Duraplast in extruders line the walls, okay? And a pair of heavy industrial manipulators hang from the ceiling. A man in a black trench coat stands with his back to you, staring at a monitor mounted above a sturdy workbench. He addresses you without turning. "Ah, I was wondering when I'd meet the new neighbor." His voice is pleasant, cultured. There's a hint of a Russian accent there, but it's buried under layers of nuance. "Please stay where you are. I'll be with you in just a moment. And unless you fancy an unplanned trip to Chrome Alley, don't touch anything. There are all manner of tools in here that could take your hand clean off. Take your time, I won't touch anything. Thanks for the warning. I know how to handle myself in a shop. I'll be fine. Thanks for the warning. Don't mention it. I have no interest in seeing anyone hurt in my shop, especially not my upstairs neighbor." Alright, examine the robotic arms mounted to the ceiling. You focus on the enormous manipulator arms that you saw earlier. They're bulky industrial things, dented from years of heavy use. Each arm has been fitted with at least a dozen different welders, soldering guns, extruders, and metal fabrication tools. You've seen machinery like this in factories before, but they look terribly out of place in the bolt holes cramped engine room. Very good, yes, that's coming along nicely. Very nicely indeed. He turns toward you, smiling for the first time you can see his face. He has broadly handsome Slavic features and a chiseled jaw. His eyes are like flecks of ice. "So sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Squiggs. It's no problem, don't worry about it." "McSquigums, Bumpy McSquigums, good to meet you." "Why don't you tell me yours first?" "We'll go with Squiggs." "You're too kind. Now tell me, what can I do for you?" His voice trails off as a flash of motion catches his eye. With alarming speed, a sinister-looking drone scuttles out from under the work table. Its movements are surprisingly agile and fluid. The machine rears back menacingly, spreading its forelegs in a clear sign of aggression. The man's smile tilts, and his tone goes apologetic. "Please don't mind the drone. He can be territorial, but so long as you remain civil, he will not bite." He extends a hand. Simultaneously, the drone relaxes into a neutral position, lowering its killing legs. "Ractor, my mechanical counterpart here is called Koshai. Koshai? We'll say Koshai. Shake his hand, a pleasure. Slap him 5. Sup, man? Refuse to shake. Good to meet you. A pleasure. His hand is rough and abnormally warm to the touch. He shakes your hand with a solid grip. "I am very pleased to meet you, my friend. In a community such as Hoi, it's important to be on good terms with one's neighbors." "Agreed. Speaking of which, I'd like to ask you some questions if you have the time." "Absolutely. I don't have time to chat just now, but it was good to meet you." "Questions." He glances at the bracer on his forearm. A technical display winks to life, then gutters out. "Very well. The morning's casting should be cooling for a few minutes yet. That's time enough to talk. When you said this morning's casting, what did you mean?" "Exactly what I said. A casting that I made of a new locomotive assembly for Koshai." He gestures at the display above the work table. A biomimetic design? Sure. As you can see, this one is inspired by the walking legs of a decapod crustacean, the mangrove crab, to be specific. "You're designing drone parts in here? That's fascinating. When will this new leg assembly make your drone more efficient? Or effective?" "That remains to be seen, but there is more to life than combat effectiveness, is there not? By fabricating new components for Koshai, I unlock options, different ways of being. Even the failures, and there have been many, have a value in this context." "How did you learn to do all of this? Wouldn't it be simpler to design the parts here and outsource the fabrication?" "How did you learn to do all this?" "More training and experience than I care to mention." He offers you a wry smile. Drone architecture was once my profession, you see. Now it's more of a calling, one that I am free to pursue now that I have freed myself from the shackles of corporate servitude. Cochet, that is an interesting name for a drone. Yes, I suppose that it is. Not many riggers would have named their most prized possession after a villain from a fairy tale. Really? What fairy tale is that? A nod to my heritage, I suppose. Yes, I know the story you're talking about. What was the fairy tale about? A thoroughly unpleasant person. Cochet the Deathless, he was called, and for good reason. His soul was cleverly hidden outside of his body, and he could not be killed so long as it remained intact. Cochet was a villain and a notorious kidnapper of women, but something about him always stuck with me. I suppose that it was the notion of immortality through cleverness that resonated. There was something to be learned from that, I was sure. And so, when it came to name my beloved creation, his was the first name that came to mind. And is your drone deathless like its namesake? In a manner of speaking, I suppose that he is. I have redundant copies of every piece of his architecture, and his core programming is stored on a disk in a secret location. Should he ever suffer critical damage, I can easily bring him back. I had a plan once to automate the self-repair process. I must confess it was really quite ingenious. But alas, my research was lost. One day I will reclaim it, and Cochet will become as deathless as the stories claim. But it will not be today. Are you Russian? I thought I caught a hint of accent there. He nods. You have good ear. I'm impressed. Don't forget to kill raccoon. No? I'm impressed. Yes, I grew up in Nizhny Novgorod. Went to school there. Started my career there in the industrial sector. A fairly common story, I'm sure. But I have also traveled a great deal, and in so doing, I have absorbed a number of other languages and dialects. How many languages do you speak? If you were born and raised in Russia, what brings you to Hong Kong now? Well, you've done a good job of dropping your original accent. Are you trying to distance yourself from your homeland? Motherland! No, what languages do you speak? Counting Russian and Cantonese? 15. He shrugs apologetically. It shames me to admit that I'm only literate in 12, however. That's still impressive. Perhaps when compared to the common man, but I've known a great many polyglots who can and do put me to shame. He gives you another half shrug, and Koshai mirrors the gesture. Arabic has been a particular bugbear of mine. The unfamiliar characters and lack of vowels make it damn tricky to get a handle on, but I suppose that all men have their limits. You've got some interesting machinery in here, not the kind that you typically see outside of corporate settings. He smiles. The same could be said of many in Hue, I'm sure. This is a smuggler's den, is it not? Our entire economy is based on people having things they probably shouldn't. Is there a particular device that interests you, out of curiosity? The robotic arms that you've got over there, they look like something taken from an automotive assembly plant. His smile flashes brilliantly in the light. Good guess, that's precisely what they are. They fell off a boat, you might say. They weren't cheap, but I acquired them and had them mounted to the walls of my shop. I simply had to have them. The return on investment has been dramatic. Yes, they're cruder by far than the Waldo devices that I used in my professional life, but they still do the job, and they are mine. It's all about me. He gazes lovingly at the industrial arms, still smiling. They have increased my fabrication capabilities nearly tenfold, and that, to me, is worth any price. You said that you used to work for a corp. Whose payroll were you on? He sighs. That is something of a sore subject. My departure was involuntary, you see. I did not part with my employer under the best terms. I will tell you that I worked for Grecian Aviacor. Sure, Aviacor. But you'll forgive me if I don't want to go into detail. Keeping all this machinery running can't be cheap. How can you afford it? Freelance. At the risk of sounding immodest, I've commodified myself rather well. There are always corporations in need of design consultations. You'd be surprised by how lucrative such work can be. There is always other work that I can turn to in a pinch. You said that you did other work besides consulting? Care to tell me what kind? He pauses, and for a second something flashes in his eye. Cochet lowers its body into a crouch. A rather personal question, wouldn't you say? Maybe, but then we're having a personal conversation. Indeed we are, but even in personal conversations, certain topics can be held off limits. Truth be told, I don't feel especially comfortable discussing my side work with relative strangers. Suffice it to say that my freelance activities often fall on the illicit end of the spectrum. Tell you what, I'm just going to guess you're a Shadowrunner, aren't you? That's okay, I'll drop the subject. Maybe we can come back to it later. Perhaps. He glances at the display on his bracer again. Now, will there be anything else? Look, about your side work, you're a Shadowrunner, aren't you? He gives you a shallow nod. I dislike the term, but yes. I run the shadows. What gave me away? You're a drone. People on the up and up don't build murder bots for fun. Yeah, I disagree. I mean, no, absolutely not. No, yep, you're right. They totally don't do that. Nothing in particular, I just get that feeling. Design consultants live in apartments in Victoria Harbor. You're living in a rusted-out boat in Huey. There's got to be a reason for that. Your drone, we'll go with that. He shrugs. You are correct, of course. The residents of shadow communities are usually either too poor to live elsewhere or engage in behaviors too illicit to risk it. I will admit to being in the latter camp. Designing robotics is my passion, but it doesn't always pay the bills. He runs a hand over Cochet's armored chassis, caressing the sculpted metal with his fingertips. My status as a foreigner has proven something of an impediment in this regard. And so, sorry as I may be to say it, the lion's share of my income flows from Cochet's aptitude for butchery. Such is life, I suppose. We do what we must to do what we love. Seems like everybody on this boat runs the shadows. Why not pool our resources and work together? He purses his lips, considering. A compelling offer. I'm doing quite well on my own, but I must admit there are certain jobs for which I am unsuited. Magic eludes me, and I'm not a decker. My strength comes from material objects in the real world, solid things with mass and heft, things that I can build and operate. Sadly, a great many clients are only interested in teams that display a mastery over the intangible. This group of yours, do you have people who cover those bases? If so, then perhaps we can help each other out. How could you not already know that? You live right beneath our feet. Yes, we have a shaman and a decker, both competent at their jobs. Yep, and we've also got a former security expert. I guess that's the best way to describe Duncan. How can you not already know that? Have you ever rented a coffin apartment in a big city? Did you know all of your neighbors by name? My situation here is much the same. I keep to myself and your friends don't come down to the engine room. The only real connection we share is that we all live in this wreck by kindly Chang's largesse. Okay. Obviously there were things that I could intuit about your friends from my time here. I'd guess that they were Shadowrunners, their behavior fits the profile, but if we hadn't had any real contact with one another until now. So, I'll ask you again, does your team makeup cover the bases that I described? Yes, we have a shaman and a deckard. A Deckard King. Well, in that case, I'll accept your offer on a provisional basis. We'll do a few runs together and see how we get on. If our association bears fruit, it will continue. If not, I will bid you farewell and go back to working alone. How does that sound?
Welcome aboard, sir.
Very good, excellent. When you receive a job, you know where to find me. My skills and resources are now at your disposal. Hoot hoot, and with that, I'm afraid I must bid you a good day. I still have work to do down here. This leg assembly won't clean itself. I'll be in touch. Looking forward to working with you.
And I with you.
Alright, folks. Well, that's pretty sweet. So we just added another member to our team, to our squad, to our superpower. I don't know about superpower, but there he is. Creepy old Raptor, the rigger, as it were. Alright, we can increase the accuracy. Raptor's drone, Cochet, gains a plus 5% accuracy boost for all attacks. Or the Mangler. Move speed. Moves 7 tiles per 1 AP. That seems pretty exciting. I think we're going to go with the leg assembly. That's kind of what he was working on, and I'll stick to kind of the canon, the storyline, if you will. I mean, that's okay with me. Alright, so beeth it. So beeth it. Let's go take a peek in here. And we see a very, very, very barren room. Well, I say to you, good day, sir. Up to the stairs and finally to the mission computer, folks. I know, it's been a long time coming, but it's finally here. Your workstation and mission computer. The cool blue tones of the workstation's main menu fill the screen. A blinking message in the upper right corner notifies you that you have 6 unread messages. Check your inbox for new messages, read your old messages, open the jobs directory, access the Shadowland BBS. What is that? Shadowland connection established, successful. Link strong, 100%, spoofing 1, group info null, anon. Welcome to Shadowland. Search, BBS for relevant keywords. Topics matching local keywords. Missed connections, terrorist in Hong Kong, poetry, slam, walled city. Let's go back. Post pay data for sale. Attach data to escrow account. Data will be automatically sold to the highest bidder. Both parties will remain anonymous throughout transaction. That's interesting. All right, let's dig around in this a little bit, guys. All right. Poetry slam. Let's check that one out first. Ladies and gentlemen, poets and shadowrunners, welcome to the first annual Shadowland Poetry Slam. There are no rules. There are also no prizes except bragging rights. With no further ado, let the versification begin, or versification maybe. Matrix Bard. How long do you think we can keep this going before the trolls show up or a sysadmin shuts us down? Why would they shut us down? It's a free board. We can be poetic if we want to. Just, well, trust me, it happens. For some reason, these things always draw the worst sort of attention. Are you going to give us a poem, or are you going to stand around complaining about why you can't? Alright, I've got one. Wait for it. Synth muscle, smart links, neural boosters, cyber limbs, all fall to grenades. A little musing on the transience of life. Transience? Sure. Of life in the shadows. Very nice, sir. Really? That was the thing, huh? When the long shadows fall on Hong Kong, neon lights pierce the coming night. Tread with me the velvet blackness, let no lamp shine on our deeds. How is this poetry? That one's entitled Our Hour. That might just have been the most pompous thing I've ever read. Try this on for size. Lasers are red, shadows are black, with Matt on the street, you best watch your back. Now that's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah, that's some poetry, boys and girls. The rhyme scheme is everything. Rudimentary at best, but it's everything, folks. It's everything. My poem wasn't pompous, you uncultivated rube. It was a homage to Wang Wei, the famous Tang Dynasty master of the Zhuezhu form of poetry. It's traditional, unlike that ridiculous limerick you just posted. Now, I don't think you have to take the word slam quite so literally. Sorry, guys, I had to take a sip to hydrate myself. Hey, you people know the rules. Poetry slams have been out of bounds on this BBS since the Laughing Man debacle of 55. If you want to sling your fancy words, do it on a different forum. I'm shutting this thread down. The sysop. Told you. That was very bizarre. Alright, we're not going to read any more of that right now. Alright, let's get out of the BBS and let's read our old messages. Do we have any? We do not. Alright, let's check our new ones. I have 6 unread messages. Welcome to Huey. Squigs, on behalf of your friends at the Huey Chamber of Commerce and the Swift Winds Mahjong Parlor, I welcome you to the community of Huey and to our new business venture. I have already lined up 3 jobs for you. The details of each are contained in a separate computer message. Remember to check your messages as often as I will update you with new opportunities as they occur. On TC. Oh, isn't that just sweet? Your mission computer. From Isobel. Hey Squigs, I've set up your mission computer to automatically collect and collate news reports, information, and media that might be of interest to you. Some of the keywords I've got it trolling for are things like Raymond, Duncan, Walled City, etc., etc., etc. I've also patched in a permalink to the Hong Kong shard of the Shadowlands BBS. It's a great place to connect with other runners, sell pay data, get news from the street, and so on. Don't be shy about taking a look. Isobel. Alright, resources. From Bao Jian Jun. Or Yang Yun, I don't know. I have been instructed to inform you of the various suppliers present in Huey. Auntie Cheng has cultivated a commercial district of well-stocked and trustworthy vendors. Whoever you choose to do business with, you will be in good hands. Ermine Cafe at Club 88 is an excellent resource for acquiring additional weapons should you require any. If you are in need of magical supplies, go to Parlor of 5 Phases. If you desire training in the path of the adept, seek out Spider Shen. She can help you, as well as supply you with any close quarters weapons that you might desire. Chromalli can supply you with cybernetic enhancements and medical supplies. The proprietor, the 10-armed Ambrose, is a cybersurgeon of some repute. Law's Techno Palace is a Wampoian-run supplier of the local decking community. The place is hard to miss. Just look for a sign glowing in the sky. Okay. If you need drones, reliable Matthews Robot Bazaar is your best bet. And, well, I pity you. Best of luck in the shadows. As fresh meat, you are likely to need it.
Serial killer.
I've got a problem, Squigs, and you're going to have to help me solve it. I do a lot of business with the Wampoians, and if you're not too familiar with the term, I'll forgive you. You are an outsider after all. The Wampoians are a tribe of techno-fetishists and deckers who have taken up residence in the Whampoa Garden area of Hong Kong. They make and trade high-tech goods to people from all over the world. A lot of Nuyen passes through their pasty little fingers, and I make a lot of money brokering deals between them and the smugglers here in Hue. I've hit a snag, though. The Wampoian elders, their council of leaders, are being eliminated by a serial killer. They've asked me to dispatch someone to get to the bottom of it and stop the killings, and they're not taking their goods through my turf until I do. So, you're going to be my proxy, dear. I don't care how you do it, but I need those murders stopped. Or the murderers stopped. The Wampoans have a delegate here. Or delegate, I guess they're missing an A. They have a delegate here in Hue by the name of Maximum Law. Speak with him if you wish to know about Whampoa. He's got a big mouth, but he knows very little of importance. Don't expect much from that half-empty bottle of vinegar. You get your butt down to Whampoa Garden and talk to the elders. Lie, cheat, and steal if you have to, so long as they're convinced that there won't be any more murders. I want my cut back, and I want it soon. We'll come back to that one in a minute here. Artifact Liberation from Kindly Chang. Welcome to the Shadows, Squigs. I received a request from an archaeologist named Mr. Drake. He's interested in liberating certain artifacts from beneath a manor house located in Tai Po. I've attached a copy of the video message that he sent me. The screen flickers a few times. The email is replaced with the face of a stern-looking orc. Hello, Madam Chang. I've heard that you're a woman who knows how to get things done, especially with regards to things that aren't legal in the strictest sense. That's exactly the kind of help that I'm looking for. Recently, a rich investor by the name of Liu Hua, sorry folks, I'm probably going to butcher every name ever, so just be aware of that, decided to expand his manor house on the outskirts of Tai Po. Too much money, not enough space for fancy parties. He had a snag with local government officials, however. They suspected the land his estate was built on may have pre-modern archaeological artifacts buried beneath it, all of them dating from the Song dynasty. Consequently, I was contracted as an archaeologist to oversee the excavations and ensure everything was properly recorded and catalogued. Sure enough, we were only a few days into the excavation when we discovered a series of tombs lying beneath the site. The scope of the tombs was far beyond anything Liu or I had expected. Several acres of catacombs at least, and untouched relics throughout. What's more, they're certainly older than the Song dynasty. They may even be from the previous cycle of magic. Before I can make my report to the Free Enterprise Zone authorities, however, Liu called in his allies in Tan Tien Incorporated. Liu sold the entire site to Tan Tien, who then leased it back to him, because Tan Tien is considered to have extraterritoriality in Hong Kong. Whatever. Local authorities were powerless to stop Liu from looting the tombs. He immediately began building a museum, if you can call it that, atop the site. He had the gall to call this museum the Emperor's Tomb. Can you believe that? The odds of there being an actual emperor buried there are basically nil. But he doesn't care. Anything to sell a few tickets. Liu has continued his excavations using Tan Tien's contractors to expand the dig. What he didn't know is that I bugged his comlink before he fired me. Based on what I've heard, something strange is going on in the lower levels. Workers have been disappearing, only to be found dead several days later. Whatever is down there is too dangerous to be left in Liu's hand. Liu must have found my data line tab, though. I stopped receiving any information 3 days ago. The last thing I heard him talking about were a pair of ancient texts that workers had discovered. Then he issued an order that further excavation should be halted until he can secure the subterranean areas. I'm betting those texts are the cause of whatever is killing the workers. I've had quite a bit of experience with these kinds of dangerous excavations, but an operation of this scale is beyond me. I need a team that's tough enough to get in and survive, aren't afraid of making a mess, and who can get out with the books and whatever else they can carry. Beyond the 2 texts, I'm willing to pay very well. For whatever other artifacts your team can liberate, the more valuable the better. Don't worry, they'll be going to actual museums, not some rich playboys' mansions. I've got a second program in place that'll suppress Liu's security system. The team will have to be careful, though. There are only so many alarms I can suppress. Go beyond that number and I'll have to scrub the mission. I've included a catalog of likely items to help the team appraise the most valuable ones. They don't need to be subtle. In fact, I prefer they make it look like a common robbery. Tell them to smash and grab what they can. Let me know when you find a suitable group of Shadowrunners. Well, there you have it, a nice, simple robbery. Do you think you can handle something that basic, dear? I have faith in you. Let me know when you're ready to proceed, and I'll contact Mr. Drake when you're on your way. Well. And finally, geomantic sabotage. Geomancy is big business in Free Enterprise Zone. Here in Hong Kong, Feng Shui isn't just the act of rearranging your kitchen to make things look pretty. The fortunes of empires rise and fall with the ebb and flow of qi, and sometimes that flow needs a helping hand. Wuxing? Okay. The Wuxing Incorporated are the preeminent practitioners of large-scale key manipulation here in the Free Enterprise Zone. They've gone to great lengths to channel key from all over Hong Kong into their headquarters, an enormous monstrosity that they call the Wuxing Sky Tower. There it is focused and transformed into good fortune through the building's geomantically attuned architecture and interior decoration. Our clients believe that it is time for Wuxing's good luck to run out. You are to infiltrate the Sky Tower and disrupt the flow of qi throughout the building, but you are to do so in 2 distinct fashions. First, you must disrupt the feng shui of the offices by subtly altering the environment of that level. This will consist of minor adjustments of desks, spilled water, and other small activities that are unlikely to be noticed. Ordinarily, even subtle disturbances of this nature would be noticed. This is why the client wishes you to make a much louder demonstration on the rooftop garden. The garden is to be ransacked, utterly destroyed, set fire to things, uproot trees, that kind of thing. Our client also has specified that he would like you to destroy the large Buddha statue in the garden. Smash the thing to bits and leave them scattered across the rooftop. This level of destruction will keep Wuxing's geomancers busy long enough that the more subtle disruptions below will take effect. In addition, it will send the kind of message our client would like Wuxing to hear. I have utmost faith in your ability to cause destruction. The more disruption you can cause on both levels of the Sky Tower, the happier the client will be. As you're not a spellcaster yourself, it may be wise to bring Gobbet along. She will be able to see the most effective ways to disrupt the key in the building. Alright, folks, well, I guess in the very next episode, we're going to have to take on a job. Choose one of the 3 that we have before us, and see where that takes us. But until that time, my name is Bumpy McSquigums. Thank you for stopping by the Freak Show, and I will see you later.